All right. Well, I see we've hit that magic number of 5 o'clock, and I don't want to waste any time because I know we have so much to cover today. So I just want to say welcome to everybody here. Welcome to the culinary medicine class. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started today. Because we do have a big class, we do ask that everybody just stay muted, and that will help to minimize any background noise that you might have. Hopefully you can access the chat function. So if you do have questions, that's a good place to ask them as we go through the class today. So you can just warm up your fingers, say hi, say welcome, all of that stuff. And I will be, May and I will be kind of monitoring that, making sure that we get your questions over to Chef. If for some reason your chat isn't working or you can't access that, there's also the ability to raise your hand. So for some of you, you might see there's like a little ellipsis, like 3 dots in a row. And if you scroll down, there'll be something that might say raise hand. Um, Others of you might see it in a different part in there. So you can look around for that. Most of it's fairly intuitive to be able to navigate to. And I'm just curious before we get started today, for how many of you were here at last month's class? Is this you've attended more than one class today? You can either chat it in or you can raise your hand if you've attended a previous class. All right, we got quite a few repeats.
I see a couple thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay, great. Great. I hope you've been trying out the recipes. We'd love to hear how they've been going for you. Feel free to chat them in. It's always fun to hear, what you guys are doing with them back at home. As an introduction, here I'll come off video here too. So hi everybody, my name's Heather Charles. I'm the health education coordinator for the island of Maui. So I will be here helping to facilitate the group today. And we've got our awesome Chef Alyssa. I'm pointing to you as if you're here in the room with me. And so yeah, she's been in the business for over 25 years. We're really happy to have her here with us today, sharing all of her culinary wisdom. And although Allison isn't here with us today, we do have Maylin here with us. She'll be helping to monitor some of the chats and things like that as we go through. So thank you again for being here. So now some of you might be asking yourself, right, if you're here for the first time, maybe you're thinking, okay, what's so special about this whole food plant-based diet? Like, what's the big deal with it? Well, it's special because it's really the only diet shown to reverse coronary artery disease, one of the leading causes of heart disease, which is responsible for 1 in every 4 deaths over the age of 35. So yes, you're right. This is a diet that is shown to reverse disease. Now that's pretty impactful, and I'd say that's a pretty good reason to consider at least gravitating to this direction. Now I know for some of us, changing our eating style might feel really daunting, right? And that's why I think it can be best summed up by these 3 statements here on the screen. These are from Michael Pollan. He's an American author and a journalist. He's written several books about food and health, and he's the one that came up with this phrase on the screen here: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. So I like that this uncomplicates things, right? Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. That's really what this class is all about. We want to bring together plant-based nutrition and culinary skills to help you be empowered in taking care of your health. I think it's fair to say most of us know that eating vegetables are good for us, and a major barrier may be that, we just haven't seen them as really being delicious. It was kind of a chore, right? You can't have your dessert till you eat your vegetables, all of those things. And so we're hoping to kind of shift that mindset, and that's actually our topic for today, which is, really highlighting the vegetables and what we can do with them to make them inviting to eat. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that there may be a wide range of people attending tonight. Some of you may be, just wondering, like, what do I do with a zucchini and how do I cut it? And others of you might be, really trying to go plant-based and really cleaning up the diet. So there's this wide spectrum, and we just want to be able to support folks anywhere they are along that spectrum with some resources so that you can continue to move in the direction that makes the most sense for you. So that being said, some of our recipes, they do have oils or nuts, or you might even see an egg. And if you're really strictly plant-based, those items would not be included. So we're going to give our chef to have the opportunity to share some substitutions for those things if you're not working with those specific ingredients. And of course, like I said, feel free to chat in your questions, or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can ask them that way too. But overall, we're just happy that you're here. Just want you to watch and learn and enjoy yourself. Before we jump into the recipes, I do want to share a short video clip from a series that Stanford put together in 2016 called Food and Health. Now, this is a series of 17 videos, and they're really short videos. They're 3 to 5 minutes, and they just give a quick synopsis of practical skills, information on why we might want to consider eating healthier and different strategies to do that. So I'm going to play one of the videos today, and then I really encourage you to check out the rest of the series on your own. I'll put that link in the chat here in just a minute. The series are all available on YouTube. So like I said, I'll put that in the chat. So just give me a minute to toggle my screens here, and then we will go ahead and play that.
And just curious, Yvonne, I see your hand is still raised. Was that in response to Heather's question earlier about if you're a returning person and or if you've cooked something before?
Yes.
Okay. Then we can.
So do I need to click on the hand again?
You do. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And one more housekeeping tip. Yeah, Lynette. It shows your video is on, so I don't know if you're able to find the camera. We don't see you, we just see a blue screen. But if you can turn the video off with the camera icon, then that way it will maximize Chef and her display when we get to that part. Okay, do you see the screen up, May? The video?
Sure do, yes.
Okay, let me push play. This is just a couple of minutes, you guys.
Modern food environment find themselves in search of simple rules. This is why so many fad diets gain a following even when there's very little science behind them. People want easy to follow dietary advice, but the human diet is inherently complex. Having said that, there are simple ways of wording sound dietary advice. Here's one of the best examples. Michael, you use a simple framework for delivering a lot of your advice on how to approach one's relationship with food, and what comes to mind is your kind of mantra: eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Yeah. Well, you know, coming up with those 7 words, which I'm afraid will be on my gravestone unless I come up with something better soon, is the result of a very long process of examining the science of nutrition. But as I got deeper and deeper and deeper, I realized, well, actually, the key issue is, are you eating real food, or what I like to call edible food-like substances, which is to say processed foods. And so the phrase eat food, I realized that's really what you need to know to eat well. Eat food, by which I mean real food. But then I realized that isn't quite enough, because we're also eating too many calories. So not too much became part of the mantra. And then lastly, I was like, well, within the range of foods, is there a class that's better than another class? And one of the things we know is that people who eat lots of plant foods tend to have much better health and better longevity than people who eat a heavy meat diet. So mostly plants. Not all plants. Mostly is, I'm trying to be very reasonable, and although it tends to offend both vegetarians and carnivores when you say mostly plants. So eat food, not too much, mostly plants, is basically, I think, all you need to know. Now, eat food is probably the hardest part of that to understand, because isn't all that stuff in the supermarket food? Well, I would argue it's not, and I would argue a lot of it are relatively new, highly processed, edible food-like substances that really are what gets most people into trouble around eating. They tend to have lots of refined sugars, lots of refined fats, and very little fiber, very little of the antioxidants you find in plants. And basically, they were designed for long shelf life, these processed foods. And the way you make a food last longer is you take out what is nutritionally valuable. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, I'm talking about fiber, all these things don't store well. So we've gone down a path of eating a lot of things that shouldn't be dignified with that beautiful word, food.
Replacing the highly processed food in our diets with reasonable amounts of real food, including plenty of plant-based foods, is sound advice for people who want to protect their health. And Pollen's mantra, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. These 7 words can be a helpful guide for anyone who wants to keep it simple when it comes to choosing food.
Do you know the sneaky zip code solar trick?
All right, give me a second to just change screens here, you guys.
And just a note, Lynette and Joy and Anna and Liana, your camera, well, okay, Liana's on. Your camera is on. So I'm just wondering if you might be able to turn your camera off so we can maximize the screen with Chef and her ingredients and display. Thank you.
Thank you, May. Okay, so we heard from Michael Pollan about why we want to eat food, not too much and mostly plants. And before I turn it over to Chef, I also want to just take a moment and briefly touch on the handouts that were included in the link for this class, specifically this healthy plate here. Now, some of you might be familiar with that food pyramid that many of us grew up with, but in recent years, the diagram has changed. So the healthy plate is based on current research and health data. So you can see it's divided into 3 parts with half of the plate dedicated to vegetables, and that's really the star of the show. So we're going to be focusing on that vegetable side. In fact, they look grilled on there too, right? So this is the perfect plate for what we're talking about today. You'll also notice that meat, quote unquote, is not included as one of the food groups, and instead it just says the word protein. So protein can include plant-based proteins like beans or lentils or tofu, and those are the ingredients that we're going to be focusing on in this class series. But really the main takeaway, you guys, from the healthy plate is to just make it colorful. Doesn't it look inviting to eat? You can see all those different colors on there, and you know if you've got color on your plate looking back at you that you're moving in the right direction. So instead of counting calories, let's count the plants, right? Then we know we're in the right direction. Now, if you want to learn more about this concept of the healthy plate, we do have a separate class that's taught by our Kaiser Permanente dietitians, and it's called Get Your Plate in Shape. And it explores different variations of what a meal might look like in this format. And I'll share more a little bit about that type of a resource at the end of class today. But for now, we want to just kind of start to focus in on the recipes, and I'm going to be pulling up those recipes in just a minute that Chef's going to be preparing. And as a reminder, they were also included in the links for your link for the class today. So if you have any questions or need the recipes again, we can pull it up at the end of class. Now, before we get into our vegetable talk today, I have a quiz. We have a quiz, you guys. I want you to chat in. What do you think your answer is to this question? How many vegetables do you think exist in the world? And May, let me know what people think here. How many vegetables do you think exist in the world?
Is it 1, 1,097, 2, 542, or 3, 178?
Oh,
Okay,
we got
getting a lot of ones.
Ones, yeah, we got a smart group.
A lot of
yeah.
ones. 1 or 2, 542, but yeah, a lot of ones.
A lot of ones. All right. Yeah, you guys know. So there are over 1,000 different types of vegetables in the world. So that's a huge amount. So we can't ever say that it's getting boring or that, you know, we get tired of eating the same ones over and over again. We just have to kind of be more courageous and more willing to expand the ones that we're willing to try. So yeah, I thought that was just a fun statistic to start off with. So with that, I'm going to just put up on the screen here one of the first recipes, or this marinades that we're going to be doing, the savory roasted vegetables. And Chef, I will turn it over to you so you can kind of highlight the ingredients for everyone. Oh, except we can't hear you yet.
Yeah, I think you're muted, Chef. Let me see if I can
There I am. Better?
There you go. Yep.
Okay,
Now we
Can you
can
great.
hear you.
hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so savory roasted vegetables. This class was it was fun because I was practicing all different kinds of marinades, and I was telling Heather and Allison how I discovered I'm not a real vinegar person, because some of them I made, if I marinated them too long, they tasted like a pickle once that they cooked, because they were like really vinegary. So I circled back, and I chose this recipe, which is one that I've been making for many years. It's inspired from Vegetarian Nights, which is a cookbook that's out of print by the author Bonnie Mondoe, Mandoe. You can still buy it used online. She used to live on Maui, and she had a catering business. And this cookbook has all kinds of wonderful recipes. But this is one that I have done for countless times. Let me just, I've made it a lot, and I love it. So I just thought, well, this is a great one to share, because the thing that I love about this recipe is that you have a balance, right? You have some oil, you have the salty shoyu or Bragg's or tamari you can use. It has a vinegar, and in this one it's balsamic, and then you have a little bit of sweet, and it's all about the same amount. And so you can do mirin, or you can do maple syrup. And so then you can just add fresh herbs and some garlic, and you toss it all together and you bake it off. So along that lines, if you all recipes, right, are subjective based on how you like to eat. So if you like things a little bit more vinegary, you can, add more balsamic. Again, you can play with it. But I just wanted to share this one because it's a great starter and a good template. And of course, if you're trying to avoid oil, one of the things you can do is add a little bit of vegetable broth into the mixture to give it a little bit more moisture. So that is the first recipe. And then what I do is I also like to add chickpeas in this one personally, because then you get a little bit of protein. They roast up, they absorb the flavors, they get a little crunchy. And so I add that in. And then because I'm using olive oil, I tend to roast it at 350, just because olive oil is a little bit more fragile than high heat oils, which is in the next recipe, like avocado or canola or safflower or sunflower oil. So I use olive oil in this. And so I roast it at 350 degrees, and it's based on the size. It starts, usually check between 30 and 45 minutes. It really depends upon the size of the vegetables that you cut. So we'll be talking more about that as we go back to the recipes and actually put them together.
Great. I can't wait. This one sounds delightful. I do love that Vegetarian Nights cookbook. Also, I didn't know that it was out of print. I did manage to find one still on Amazon. So there might be a few out there if you want to check them out. Every recipe I've tried has been fantastic. Okay, let's shift over to the roasted roots recipe.
Okay, so this one this was a lot of fun too, because I happened went to just a quick aside, I went to an art exhibit here locally, and I saw a mentor of mine through the years. Her name is Eileen Tawata, and she used to be part of the Castle Hospital Wellness Program. She used to teach cooking classes, and she had a cookbook, and she taught different exercise classes, and now she's retired and she does art. So we were talking story, because I hadn't seen her in years, and we were talking about the roasted vegetables and the upcoming class that I was doing. And she had suggested I check out Down to Earth, that they have a whole bunch of recipes on their website. And I was talking to her about this recipe I'd seen for a carrot dog. So you marinate whole carrots, and then you cook it off, and then you use that carrot instead of a hot dog in a bun. If you want to do the true, real vegetarian hot dog. And then you just put all the toppings on. And so she had said, well, Down to Earth has a very interesting one. So I went there and I played with it, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. It doesn't have, it's different. It doesn't have any vinegar in it. I'm sure you could add a little bit if you want. Again, all recipes are templates, so you want to play with it, go ahead and have at it. But this one is fun because it's got a nice smoky flavor to it. And then I added some harissa seasoning. So we'll talk a little bit about what that is and about nutritional yeast and all of that. So that is the second recipe, which is actually the one we're going to start with today.
Fantastic. I'm excited to check out this one, because the nutritional yeast in there is something I've never done when roasting, and I think that'll be a really interesting flavor to add into there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the presentation so that we can highlight you as you're putting all of this together. Oh, good. There you are.
Okay. All right.
Well, except for Joy,
Yeah.
are you able to turn your camera off?
Yes, I sure can. Hold on.
You know where that's at? Okay.
It's here somewhere. There you go.
There you go. Oh,
Thanks,
thank you
Joy.
so much. That's a big help. Okay. Go ahead.
We're good? Go?
Yep, good to
Me?
go. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, let's see. So the first time I made this recipe, I have been getting from the grocery store, especially Whole Foods. They have like bunches of carrots with the carrot tops on it. And I kind of hone in on that because I have rabbits that love the carrot tops. So it's like I'm thinking, oh, it's a win-win. I get the carrots and I get the tops and I can feed them the tops. So, and it depends on size. So the ones when I did this first recipe the first time, the carrots were almost like really tiny little tender miniature carrots. And so I roasted them up. The bunnies ate the greens, and it was really good. I actually, Eileen had said she likes to just put it on top of a salad and eat the cooked carrots that way, not like a carrot dog. And I, true to what she said, I mean, I ate all of those carrots in one sitting. It was fun. It was delicious. It digested well. And then the second time I made it, I had ordered some, and I didn't buy them. I had ordered, one of those where they shop for you and then you pick up. And they were tricolor and huge, huge carrots. This is one of them. I want a tricolor, but it was a pretty big carrots. So today, what I did was I ordered, they said that they had these like baby tricolored carrots. So I thought, oh, that's cool. So I'm going to get these little ones. So I got a little, the little yellow and the little orange. And then they had, the dark red. Wait, I'm doing that way. Should I do it over here? Is that better?
Well,
do it over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Here.
There, that's
okay.
Good.
So
I can see it.
Yeah. So bottom line, I've been testing with this recipe, and what I've learned is, if they're smaller carrots, they're going to cook quicker. If they're bigger carrots, it's going to take longer. So, so I thought, well, these would all be nice and uniform in size. So that's why I chose them today for this class. And then what I did was I ordered I got some red potatoes. So I pre-cooked the potatoes just a little bit. And so it's about half today. I have half red potatoes that I cut. I thought these would be about the same size. So again, I'm kind of thinking same size. Can you see what is the best contrast?
Yep.
Maybe this. Okay. So
and can you talk a little bit about can you talk about the pre-cooking of the potato and kind of why you decided to do that, or how long you did it for?
Well, what I did was I actually pressure cooked them. I cut them, I think that is in 3 pieces, cut them in half and then cut them into 3 pieces. So it was actually six pieces in the potato. I just, every once in a while, I'll cook something and it's like the potatoes don't cook along with everything else, and then I get all bummed, you know. It's like, oh wow, you know, now I got crunchy potatoes and everything else is cooked. So I kind of just want to make sure that they're cooked. So I put them in a steamer basket in my pressure cooker, and I steamed them for 5 minutes. So I used like a toothpick and just made sure that I could poke through them. So that's why I did that. They might be just fine, but I really just, yeah, I don't like crunchy potatoes.
Yeah. So
And
you're not like cooking it all the way through, but you're just kind of softening it a little bit. Or do you want it all the way cooked?
Yeah.
Softening. Okay.
Well, let me just
so Nicole was asking too if the potatoes could
Yeah.
be cooked in the microwave if we don't have a pressure cooker.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So pretty much
So
any
yes, I
method
can poke,
to
yeah, just
cook
give it
them a
a
little bit.
pre-cook it a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, I can poke a toothpick through this. It's not feeling crunchy. And that's really what I was looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and this recipe is nice and simple. What it has is calling for light oil. And the reason why I chose light oil is because I'm going to cook this at 375. So olive oil is kind of something you want to keep under 350. And avocado oil can take high heat. So I used avocado oil today. I have nutritional yeast. If you're not familiar with nutritional yeast, it is high in B vitamins. It adds a nice umami flavor. What else to say about it? Kind of a cheesy flavor. So that is what we're going to be using for seasoning. I also am using smoked paprika. Now, smoked paprika is, if I should do this, I'm trying to think of contrast. Is that better? A little bit better?
Yeah, if you hold it up closer to the camera, if you hold it up, raise it up a little bit higher. Yeah, then we can see it better. There you go.
No, I've got to do sideways, yeah. So smoked paprika, I remember that Dr. Jun had said, make sure it's not hot, because a lot of some smoked paprikas can be really spicy. So you want to make sure you're not, I mean, if you're not a big hot food fan, that you make sure your paprika is just not spicy. So smoked paprika is one of the ingredients here. And then you can use chili powder or harissa seasoning, which I'm trying to remember where I got this, but I think they have it at Whole Foods. I know that, yeah, Foodland.
Maybe that's better.
Safeway. That better? Okay.
Yeah, well, I spotlighted that one and then kept you in the corner. So you guys can let me know if this view works better for you.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
much better.
That looks good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I just want to let you know what harissa has in it. It has paprika, it has ancho chili, garlic, onion, black pepper, coriander, cayenne, spearmint, which is interesting, cumin. So it's kind of similar to a chili powder. So, you don't necessarily have to go out and get it, but if you happen to have it, it's a good one to use in this recipe. And then just a little bit of salt. And what I like to do is I like to, you could mince your garlic, but you can also use a garlic press. So what I do is I cut off the ends, I take off the peel.
Can you?
And then I just,
Alyssa,
you
can
didn't
you move
see that, did you? Oh, okay,
yeah, there you
right
go.
there.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
So what I did was I cut off the end and then I went like this. And you can also use like a jar or something. And I mashed it so that the skin came off. And then from there, I really love garlic presses. So this is my press. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, press it through, and then I use the back of the knife to push it off so it doesn't take away the sharpness of the knife. Always think about what's going to dull your knife, yeah?
Ah, I've never thought of that before, to use the back of the knife. I always used to use the front of the knife, but you're right. That would dull the knife.
Yeah.
Good tip.
So, yeah, and then So that's, I figured that one big one was equivalent to two garlic cloves. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, go back to the beginning. I'm going to put some oil in, my avocado oil. I'm going to put the yeast. So this is 2 tablespoons of yeast. I'm going to put the 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. I'm going to put in the harissa chili powder and the salt. And then this is a little, it can be a little dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the carrots and the potatoes. Going to stir it around. Sometimes the moisture of the, the cooked vegetables, the washed vegetables, the moisture in the whatever, depending upon what your root vegetable is, can moisten it. But if it still seems too dry, you can add a little bit more oil.
And so Alyssa, this would be for 4 cups of vegetables. This
is 4 cups.
Wow.
Yeah, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I wanted to show you because when I made it, so it's like almost like a dry rub, yeah?
Right. Yeah, it's a different.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull it up towards the screen and then we can see what it looks like on the vegetable?
Mm-hmm. Oh, should I go this way? Okay. Yeah. Higher. Is that still clear?
There. Yep.
Yeah.
When you hold it still, then it comes into focus. Perfect. Do you guys see that?
Okay.
Yeah. Well seasoned.
All right. Yes, it is well seasoned. So let me just quickly show you. You usually have some left over. Now, if you add a little more oil, you can get, more saucy. So it's your call too. I just want you to hold on. Just want to show you with the leftovers. This is a little after the fact, but I used my leftover sauce and smeared it on some tofu and baked it. So I have some seasoned tofu from the
I bet
same
that's delicious
sauce. Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I know, right? So I'm excited. That's dinner. Doesn't take much to excite me. All right. Yeah. So so then you just let this sit. So you can let it sit overnight in the fridge. Or it can also just sit out, like I've made it where I started in the morning and then cooked it up for dinner. So just let it sit and let all the flavors absorb in. Yeah. And you could add, if you want to add a little vegetable broth, just a little. If you could substitute broth for the oil. And after I baked it, this is what you've got. So you've got these. Now what I did here was these are just carrots. So I tried to choose all the carrots that were about the same size. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is those little red ones aren't that pretty when they come out. They get kind of like, they almost look like little burnt. I'm sure they taste delicious. But
yeah, I like the tricolored ones. Yeah, it adds a little variety.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there, now I can see it.
This is what it looks like. Yeah, when it comes out. And because the carrots or whatever you're using are all different sizes, if they tend to be on the smaller side, which is like these, you might want to start checking them at 20 minutes. 375, 20 minutes. Poke them with a knife, toothpick, something, and see where you're at with it. Because you don't want to like have them all shriveled up.
And so the doneness, to check when they're done,
yeah,
is when you can stick something into it and it's no longer hard.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to air two
Right.
sides. So how do you tell when it gets too mushy or too done?
Well, it's just, I think with the heat, they start kind of shriveling them up. Shriveling
okay.
up.
So if they're starting to shrivel, we've gone a little too far. We've sucked all the water out of them.
Shriveled, dry, yeah.
Oh, and somebody's asking because they don't see any potatoes in that one, but I think the recipe that you did there.
They're not.
weren't potatoes in that one.
Right. So what I did was I cooked half a recipe, and I cooked just the carrots, and then I demoed this. Don't ask me. Yeah, good question. Why I did that? Where was my brain? But I just cooked the carrots for the demo. So very good, very astute observation. These are just carrots. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but it looks like this seasoning pairs well, like you have in the recipe with potato or onion. Is it red onion? Does it matter what kind of onion?
Yeah. No, it can be any kind of onion. And I didn't put onion because I put onion in the next recipe. I was I was also, when I ordered this, the bag is 12 ounces. So I thought, if I'm going to be doing a whole recipe for the demo, I'll just do half a recipe. And then I'm like, well, that's not a lot of carrots. So I'm going to do just carrots. And anyways, that's where kind of where my brain went on that.
No, it's fine. It's perfect.
That executive decision.
Yeah. Somebody's asking too if you pre-cooked all the vegetables before roasting, or was it just the potatoes?
Just the potatoes. Yeah. So I can, let's see, what time do we have here? 5:36. I can pop them in the oven and see what happens and see, right now. I'll put them in the oven and we'll see what they look like at the end of class. Okay. So
and now you're putting them on some parchment paper there. Is that right?
I am parchment line. The reason, and the thing is, these aren't marinated a long time, right? Because I wanted to demo. But this is parchment lined sheet pan, which happens to be aluminum. So that's why I'm doing it this way.
So it helps to protect the pan and maybe for easier cleanup too, I would guess.
Easier cleanup, yeah. And I'm just not a big fan of cooking on aluminum. So it's kind of a win-win both ways. Yeah.
Now, do you have to flip these or toss them partway through, or you just kind of put them in and forget about them? Maybe not forget about them. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say.
Yeah. Set the timer for like 20 minutes and then see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no need to
I'm
fuss
going to go
with
pop them in. Yeah. No need to fuss with them. Okay. Actually, this is probably a good time for me to switch out because I'm going to put these in the toaster oven. I'm going to switch out my stuff here. Unless somebody has any questions. Any more questions?
Any questions about that recipe, you guys? The roasted roots recipe.
I don't see any new ones coming in, and I think you got to all the ones that came in during the demo.
And while Chef is busy cleaning up there too, I'll just put a little plug in here. I know she said she's using her toaster oven, which is also a great way to not have to use the big oven. Maybe if you don't want to heat up the house. I know it's summer. And then I like to use the air fryer. So if you guys have an air fryer at home, I've marinated things and throw them in there. It's a great way to cook vegetables in a short amount of time. Usually only takes maybe, 8 to 15 minutes, and put them in there while you're preparing the rest of your meal, and it works out great. I don't know if anybody else has tried that.
I have, Heather. Oh my goodness.
Isn't it good?
This weekend. Yes, because it doesn't heat up the whole house. And
yes,
my goodness.
Yeah, or use up as much energy. I think we're all pretty energy conscious at this point in time too. And so it's a great energy saver. So what temp, Cheryl, it really depends upon the air fryer that you have. I think mine comes in at like 375, and in general, the air fryer, I think you go down by 25 degrees from what it would be in a recipe. But it does kind of depend upon the model of an air fryer that you get. And sometimes I just throw it in and I just keep checking it. I just pop it out and look at it and shake it around and just try to make sure I don't burn it. But
same here.
Yeah,
it's really a test, and sometimes sometimes go faster. I wish I knew why.
Yeah, it is a lot faster, and they get kind of crispy, and I can just down a whole head of broccoli now. I never even used to eat broccoli that much, and now I love it. Oh, good. You're a good air fryer. Cody, the link for the recipes is in the invite for the class. So if you scroll down past where you click to join, in blue, there's some things, and it will have the handouts and it will have the recipes. Otherwise, if that's, you know, you don't see it on there or something, then at the end of class, I'd be happy to put the recipe up. You can take a screenshot of it too. Hope that helps.
All right.
Oh, and look, you're all set.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yep.
So this is a savory roasted vegetables.
Okay. We just can't see the black. What is it? Is that a pan or is that a plate? The blue. I guess is it a blue plate?
It's dark blue. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I just didn't wash the other one.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's really dark.
Now it's centered.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, this is fun because I mean, I used, you know, I changed things out quite a bit. And I've got all kinds of vegetables. So let's go through this. So 4 cups of vegetables, and I used onion. I used even smaller pieces of carrot. So I didn't do anything with it. I pulled out all the real tiny ones. Well, that one's not that tiny. That I thought would cook quickly. I did that same red potato, but then I cut it into smaller chunks. And I did Brussels sprouts, yellow squash, zucchini, bell pepper, onion. I have broccoli. And I was going to show you how to do a portobello, except oh no, hold on.
Okay.
It says low battery, but I'm plugged in. So why is it? Okay. Sorry, guys. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
I'm still there. Okay, there I am.
Yep, you're still here.
So, yeah. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about portobellos because I was going to add a portobello in here. And then I'm going to mix everything up together. So I don't know how much people have worked with portobellos. But one way you can use portobellos as far as like marinating and grilling or roasting is you can, one thing I learned is if you want to marinate just a portobello, you can take off that stem, right? And make it flush with the gills. Because, you know, and you can kind of choose them where they might have a good kind of a deep area where you can pour a nice marinade, balsamic, olive oil, garlic, let it sit and just fill in. The other thing I've learned, like if you're going to do roasted vegetables, is you can take a spoon and then you can take those gills, the dark gills out, so then it won't make your roasted vegetables dark. So you just scrape those little gills, put them in a baggie or a plate, and then you can go in the rubbish. And then that makes everything, because this can really, even when you saute, that's what makes everything get dark, is the gills. Yeah.
Interesting. I've always scraped them out, but I've never knew why. Okay.
Yeah. So then this is going to all cook pretty quickly. But I'm going to just cut it into some large chunks like that. Because we're cooking at 350 about 30 minutes. The mushrooms cook pretty quick. Okay. So I might have, well, we'll see how much I've got going here. So this is 4 cups. I might have more than 4 cups. But if I've got more, you could just add a little bit more of the sauce, right? You can just do a little bit more. And then, so I'm just going to put toss all ingredients until vegetables are coated. So I've got all my vegetables in here. And then what I did was I put my olive oil, my shoyu, my balsamic vinegar, and I use maple syrup. So that's all in this little pouring mechanism pitcher. Whatever, it's so cute, this little one. And then I have some fresh thyme, little sprigs of thyme. And I've got chickpeas. So this is half a can of chickpeas. I have fresh, not fresh, dried oregano. I really like oregano. I've got salt and pepper. And the garlic, again, I'm going to do the mash. Well, I'm going to turn this. Hold on one sec. I got all that gill stuff on my cutting board. Okay. So I'm going to, let's see here. Does that work better? I'm going to cut the end. This is like a really big garlic. So I figure it's equivalent to 2. And this one just peeled off really nice. So then I'm going to put this through the garlic press. Whoa. So this garlic press has, you see how you can buy the kind that's got the little nubby thing and then it'll go backwards through the pukas? Is that not proper English or what?
I think I caught what you're saying.
You guys understood though, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then what I do is I just scrape
official
off.
chef talk.
I don't know, local. Okay, and then I'm going to press it through. Oh, there we go. And then I'm going to use the back of my knife. Yeah, and get all of that good garlic in there. All right, and then I'm going to use a spoon, which I don't have. And I'm going to toss it all together. So what we want to do is we want to coat this. I was saying earlier to Heather that sometimes I use beets in here, which I would pre-cook. You know, I just did the potatoes today. Sometimes I use tempeh cubes if you like tempeh. This is a nice way to season tempeh. But I really like chickpeas just because they just get so kind of crunchy and tasty. And,
Yeah, no, I like those also. It looks like a good marinade. I can see it all on there.
yeah.
And then so this one you said you had potatoes and so you pre-cooked those potatoes or no need because they're a little bit smaller?
I actually did. I think it's more just me being a little, I get nervous about crunchy vegetables. So anything that is, I want to say, yeah, except for onions, anything that's grown under the ground, except for these little carrots. Yeah. I've just done potatoes too often when they're crunchy. So I think it's more me just being extra cautious.
Being cautious. Yeah. You don't want to go through all that
Yeah.
effort and pull it out and have a hard potato at the end of it. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah, I get
disappointing.
that.
So it's not any big effort for me to, I tend to do that with eggplant too, because I just don't like uncooked eggplant, Okay, so I've got it tossed, and then if you want to add broccoli, I tend to add big chunks of broccoli because they cook so quick. So you can put them in, or, like this, you can toss it in, or you can also put them in like after 15 minutes, before, because these guys, they really, that's the reason why I kind of hesitate with broccoli, because they don't look that pretty when they come out of the oven. They're kind of brown, and I mean, they taste good, but I guess I just have this like visual thing that broccoli should be like really green.
Yeah.
I think it's just, again, one of those personal things. Like, I don't want my broccoli brown. Um, but it is
Would
a
you do
great
the
way to
same
cook
with
broccoli.
cauliflower or the mushrooms? Can those,
Yes.
would you delay adding those
Well,
also, or the
I've
mushrooms, I
done
guess
my
you have them in
mushrooms. I
there
don't,
already. Yeah.
yeah, I don't, yeah. And cauliflower, I know it cooks about the same time as broccoli, but yeah, I would probably just put bigger chunks in and put it in with it. It's really your call how you want to do it, how you like your food. But you know, all in all, if you don't want to have to fuss too much, just put it in. Maybe just cut it in bigger chunks. So and then if you like things, you know, with this recipe, if you want things a little bit more vinegary, just add another tablespoon of balsamic. You know, if you want to add more spices, you know, go for it. If you want a little kick, I did want to show you that there is something called golden balsamic. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
Oh,
or
I've
white
never seen
balsamic
that.
vinegar.
Hmm.
This is, you know, the regular. Again, I guess because I do a lot of cooking for other people, it's just like a visual thing because the dark balsamic makes things really dark. You know, sometimes it's not that pretty, right? You know, if you add a lot of vinegar. And also, you know, the white balsamic is nice. It's not as vinegary. It's, I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it tastes milder. So I tend to have both. Um, and so that's just something to think about, you know, if you see white balsamic in the store. The other thing I was saying earlier is I have actually 3 products here. I have tamari, shoyu, and Bragg's. Yeah. And they all, you know, none of them are low salt. They're all about 900 to 1,000 milligrams for a tablespoon, which is kind of a lot. But they all taste different. Like the tamari is much more flavorful than the Bragg's, and the shoyu's kind of right in the middle. But they do, you know, it's something you might want to taste and see, you know, how you like it. It might be too salty for you, right? Or just use low sodium. Sometimes if I don't, you know, depending upon what the recipe is, I might add, because I really like the tamari flavor, but I might do like half tamari and half water, just to kind of tone it down a bit. So just something to think about. So when I put this in the oven, I start, thank you. I start checking it after about 30 minutes. And depending upon what the vegetables are, you know, I poke them and maybe toss, because this sauce is nice. I mean, I tend to, the carrots I didn't as much, but this one, because it's more liquidy, I tend to take it out of the oven and toss it a little bit. And then when
Oh, we had a question about Bragg's coconut aminos and whether that has a sweet flavor, or is it lower in salt than the regular Bragg's?
You know,
I know it has a sweet taste, but I don't know about the salt.
Yeah, definitely has a sweeter taste. I'd have to look online and see, or go to the store. I just haven't bought it in years. I used to use it at Kukua Market. But yeah, I have not bought it. I tend to cook for, you know, people who have either, well, it just depends, but health issues. So I have in the past used it, but I've had no requests for it lately.
Oh,
So,
somebody
good
else
question.
chatted in that
Sorry, I
it's
can't.
lower in salt. So, and I was thinking it is too. I know I have it for some specific recipes that call for it, but it does have a different flavors. Yeah, good tip, you guys. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah, thank you. So then what I do is I put this on a roasting pan. Did I get one ready? I didn't get the second one ready. And just lay it flat. Let me see if I can get it. Where's the roasting pan? Oh, it's wet. No, not gonna do it. So I'm just gonna lay it flat and just put it on your, whatever your pan is. It could be a 9 by 13, a casserole dish, but you pretty much just want to have an even layer, and then just, check it every once in a while, and make sure that it stays moist and cooks evenly. When it's done, it kind of looks, everything looks cooked. This is actually the cooked dish, and I did cook the broccoli. I know I showed you, but you can see how the bell pepper looks soft. I didn't put the mushrooms in this one because I wanted to demo the mushroom, the whole thing. So I didn't put it in this one that I roasted, but this has the zucchini and the yellow squash and the chickpeas and the Brussels sprouts, carrots, potato. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that looks like a very enticing way to make half my plate vegetables easily. That's great.
Right.
And I'm just watching the time here too. We've got about 5 minutes left. So you guys, if you have questions for Chef about either of these recipes, please make sure and chat them in so we have time to cover them.
Okay. And I didn't know if, while they're chatting in, if I would just wanted to do a little roll cut way to cut carrots. Do you have a question?
Sure.
A question
Okay.
did come in about how would cabbage do with roasting?
I think it would be fine. Yeah. Add it in. Maybe bigger chunks. Yeah. Bigger.
Yeah, definitely
cuts of
big
it.
chunks. Yeah.
I've never roasted cabbage, so
I actually have, and it was quite tasty. But I did a whole slab, like Tally would do like a cauliflower steak, like a slab of cabbage.
Wow.
It was quite tasty with some spices. So I would say,
oh, good to know.
thumbs up.
All right.
Great. Okay,
Thank
report
you so
back.
much. What
Let
a
us
great
know
idea. So I just want to do a quick show of what a roll cut is. There's more contrast maybe with this, but
yeah, that works.
Yeah. So you would just kind of cut it and then turn it, and then you get these nice little. It just kind of adds a little variety to your vegetable cutting, kind of like little triangles. That's called a roll cut.
I've never been able to perfect that, so that's good. So you had an angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angle, turn.
Keeping the knife in the same position and just roll the carrot.
Yes, thank you. Very good. That's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah, and just turn it till you get to that angle, right? The angle turns. I'm not describing it well, but maybe just the visual visual helps. And yeah, you can do it with any vegetable. But if I mean, as long as you don't mind eating, I mean, they're soft. I tend to do bigger chunks, but if you do smaller chunks of vegetables, of course, they'll cook faster. I just tend to like big chunks of things to eat. But that's just me. Maybe because I'm a vegetarian and it just gives me a little bit more
stuff to chew.
Texture. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, when I worked at Kukua Market years ago, we all were working together and making the same recipes. And I mean, it was amazing how everyone had different ways of just cutting their vegetables. Some cut them really tiny, and I'm like, wow, my concept has always been big chunks. So, you can't do anything wrong. You just kind of, just make note that if you do that, then you start checking the oven maybe a little earlier because it might cook faster. And things might marinate faster too overnight. Yeah, you might not need to marinate it overnight. You might just marinate it, for a couple hours. All those things to take in consideration. Vinegar will, can make things taste very pickled if you let them sit too long. But you might love that. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, great. Well, you covered a lot of information, and I think, kind of the takeaway is if you got a root vegetable, you might want to pre-cook that a little bit, like a potato or a beet, to kind of bring it up to speed. And then you want to be aware if you're adding a broccoli or a cauliflower, something that might not take as much time, and then either cut that in a bigger chunk or add it a little bit later in the roasting, so that the timing of it, and some of that's a little bit of give and take. So, all right. Well, I do want to honor everybody's time too. I know we're hitting that 6 o'clock mark here. We will stay on and answer any questions. I'm just going to pull up the PowerPoint here really quick and just make sure everybody's aware of the next class and how to be able to sign up for that. And meanwhile, if you guys have questions for Chef, please feel free to chat those in. We'll make sure and get them answered before you leave today. Okay. All right, so our next class
coming in.
Oh, good, good.
Sorry, go ahead, Heather.
It's on the fourth Monday of every month. So our next class will be July 25th, and Chef will be demonstrating roasted kabocha salad with vinaigrette and a wonderful bean salad. So you get to do a little practice your roasting again, a little bit with some squash. So that's a lot of fun. And then on here again is the class schedule. I've got a little bit of an echo. I don't know if somebody's not muted, but just want to make sure. And then if you do want some support in putting some of these habits into practice, you can also partner with one of our wellness coaches. This is a free service for our Kaiser Permanente members. You can go on to kp.org under the appointments tab and you can schedule an appointment there, or you can call the phone number 432-2260. Just say you want to be partnered with a coach, and they'll work with you on making step-by-step lifestyle changes so that you can put this into practice over time. So great resource to have for that. And then on the screen here, sorry guys, I know this is a little bit small, but every month we offer all different types of classes in addition to the culinary medicine. So, if you want to explore plant-based, eating a little bit more, we've got a wonderful Viva Veggies class, a part 1 and a part 2. We've got the Get Your Plate in Shape. So if you're just kind of new to figuring out this, okay, half my plate is veggies and what might that look like with different types of eating, lots of different classes and programs to support you, or even Healthy Kids, Healthy Families. If you're trying to make a change as a family unit, I really encourage that one so everybody can be on the same page and understand why changes are being made. So if you're interested in getting more information about the classes, again, and maybe May, you can put the phone number in the chat. But the 432-2260, and we can make sure and get that information out to you. So thank you so much for your time this evening, for being here with us. Thank you to Chef Alyssa. Always fun to hear your tips. I learned something new every single time that you're here.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Thank you to May for helping to monitor the chats. And like I said, we'll stay on here if you guys have any questions. We'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening. Happy cooking. Hey, yeah, see you next
Great job.
month.
That was quite inspiring. Change up dinner at the last minute.
Right, I know. It's such a great way to add variety and get the color, right? We talk about adding color to the plate, and it's such an easy way to just throw it in there. And yet, it's in the oven, it's cooking. I'm not, having to fuss with it and stir fry it, do a bunch of other, it's just, you have to chop it, but after that, it's just in there and you can prep whatever else you're making for the meal. So I just think it's such a easy way to add in veggies and color.
Right. Well, thank you, Heather, and thank you, Chef.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Great job.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Oh, any last questions? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and sign off and let everybody have a good evening. Okay.
All right. Good night.
Then I think we'll close up shop. Thank you again, Alyssa. Thank you for all the thought that you put into this, testing the recipes and everything. We really appreciate you going above and beyond. We know they're going to taste amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. I'm going to close down. Bye-bye.